Hey guys, this is Richard Mulligan from the P3 Radio Show. I want to say thank you for listening to this episode. We're going to get right to our intro with the commercial and everything you're used to. But first off, I want to say if you're a new listener, please go back and listen to some of our archives. We have a great interview with superstar Bill Dundee, where he talks about the Memphis territory, an altercation he had with Macho Man Randy Savage, and some heat he might have had with The Undertaker. We've talked to many wrestlers such as Derek King, Spellbinder, Brian Christopher, Dangerous Danny Davis, Pete Gas, Headbanger Thrasher, and MikeyWhipwreck Part 1 if you want to go back 1 week. But please go back and listen to those episodes and like and comment. If wrestling's not your thing and you're more into wrestling podcasts, we have a great interview with Conrad Thompson. We also have an interview with two-time Olympic gold medalist and former Figure It Out show host Summer Sanders. We have an interview with former Super Bowl champion Jabari Greer. We also have an interview that we did on SiriusXM with Weird Medicine host Dr. Steve. It's all there in our archives. Please go and listen, subscribe, send us an email, tell us who you want to hear from next. We'll try to get them. We have no shame. You can call us at 731-300-6675, 731-300-6675. Leave us a voicemail, or you can text that number. You can also send us an email to p3radio1@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Facebook at Pop Poncho or on Twitter at p3radio1. Now, before we get to our show, I'd like to also say that we do know that there is a little bit of audio difficulty here at the end of this episode. Something happened with our mics. We don't know. There was a slight buzzing sound. If I didn't point it out, you'd probably never notice. But if you do, sorry, we didn't want to interrupt Mikey and his stories to fix the audio equipment. We just wanted to let it roll. So if you can look past it and bear with us, we'll try not to let it happen again. That's all from me for right now for the intro to the intro. So now let's get to the real intro, but first, this commercial break.
He speaks fluent Klingon, backwards. The best story he's ever told was to himself. Of the two women he slept with in his life, one fell asleep, the other thought he was someone else. Dogs take him for walks. He is the world's most semi-interesting man.
I don't often smoke, but when I do, I only choose Vista Vapors.
Visit them today at tinyurl.com/P3Vista.
Keep it flavorful, my friends.
Welcome to P3 Radio.
The monkey only dances as good as the guy grinding the organ handle.
Demolition! We're coming for you, baby!
That was my moment of I carried a watermelon.
And if you're going to call me back tomorrow, whatever, I'll give you.
You better believe I took my turn a little bit. What?
Cool story, bro.
PG3 Radio.
Nope.
Here's your host, Josh Friday.
Ladies and gentlemen, next up we have crying little blind children.
Richard Mulligan.
I don't know, is this making any sense to anybody out there?
It's showtime! It's showtime! It's showtime!
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of P3 Radio. I'm Richard Mulligan, joined by my co-host via phone, Josh Briley. Say hey, Josh.
So, I mean, are we still going to talk about you getting me out before tomorrow? Or am I going to have to still be sitting in here all weekend? I mean,
you do it, man.
If you were my real friend, if you were my real best friend, you'd be sitting in here with me right now.
Well, what happened, ladies and gentlemen, was we realized we didn't have an intro for part 2, and Josh couldn't get out of the house. You know, house arrest, Memorial Day weekend, they kind of go hand in hand. So we wanted to call him up and get an intro for this part 2 of the Mikey Whipwreck interview that we did. Josh, what do you want to tell him about this episode?
Well, I'm going to tell you something about this episode and the last episode. The last episode, man, I think it's one of the biggest outreaches to us saying, hey, we really like that episode. You know, we really, really like that episode. And, you know, like I say, more so than any of the other episodes we've ever done, you know, just from me personally.
Right.
But, you know, I'm super excited because, to be honest with you, I can't remember a lot of what happened on part 2. So I'm excited, like everybody else, just to listen to it.
I think step 1 is admitting you have a problem. But anyways, no, it's
tired
great.
boys. Lots of tired boys.
Yeah, lots of tired. But anyways, yeah, this was one of the best rated episodes was last week. And we don't get true numbers on our podcast from iTunes, but we did get a lot of numbers from SoundCloud, and they were some of the highest and quickest numbers we've got. So thanks again for listening to that. Part 2 is coming up after this commercial break. Josh, who are we listening to today?
Let's go with Score Big.
Score Big is the leading online marketplace for tickets to sports, concerts, theater, and family events.
Score Big allows you to purchase last-minute tickets to sold-out events. Also, the latest on sales of popular artists, teams, and productions. They'll get you in.
They safeguard your transaction with a 100% money-back guarantee under a secure checkout with interactive seat maps to guide your purchase.
And whether it's an Atlanta Braves game, Metallica concert, or a WWE event, they've got you covered.
Book your seats now at tinyurl.com/P3events.
That's tinyurl.com/P3events.
When you go shopping for wine, do you look at the labels? Do you stare at the price and wonder if the wine is worth the expensive tag? Well, stop it, because Wine of the Month Club has you covered. Every month, Wine of the Month Club is going to send you 2 bottles of high-quality wine right to your front door.
And what better way to say I'm thinking of you than a subscription to the original Wine of the Month Club for a friend or a sweetheart. Each month they'll be reminded of your thoughtfulness and will receive the monthly wine letter and newsletter binder. Recipes, wine knowledge, and great wine, and the opportunity to get more of their favorites is at hand. Give with confidence and joy, knowing that you're a part of the original Wine of the Month Club.
By the way, there are no dues, no fees, no hidden charges. Cancel anytime with no obligation. Just pay no more than $23.96 plus shipping for 2 great bottles of wine. Go there now. Sign up by visiting our link, tinyurl.com/P3wine. That's tinyurl.com/P3wine. The Wine of the Month Club, the original wine club since 1972.
Welcome back to more P3 Radio.
ECW's Massacre on 34th Street in December of 2000. You and Ty Jerry took on Super Crazy and Kid Cash.
What a rib.
In our area, we had lost ECW TV. It used to come on at like 1 in the morning, then it moved to TNN, and then we couldn't find it. So this was the first time I remember seeing you in your new look since you had went from WCW. I remember in that match, 2 things stood out to me. The top rope whippersnapper and the one that went through the table, and then you taking that Hurricane Rana from the second rope to the floor through the table. Yeah. What are your memories of that match?
It seemed like a good idea at the time. I remember Davey calling the spot. And I go, I'll fucking do it. No big deal. So I remember he's up there, and I'm going, this is going to be a little awkward because he has to give me it was, because you're in a weird angle. You know what I mean? It's like you're going into the middle of the ring. You're kind of top guy on the ropes. Half on the ropes and half on the turnbuckle. And I remember I got to take the Frankenstein, so I gotta catch Davey on the way down. You know what I mean?
Right.
To make sure he kind of clears, so I don't drop him straight on his head. And then I have to post enough and bump out enough to get through this table. I'm thinking, this could fucking end badly. But I remember doing it, going through the table. The table explodes.
Right.
Like the table said, "Fuck you." Like it wasn't even like a delay. And I remember laying there, and I remember my legs going numb, and I couldn't breathe. And I'm like, and the devil comes running over. He looks down at me and goes, Mikey. He goes, you're too fat to be doing things like that. I'm like, thanks.
Well, dude, that match still holds up to this day. I watched it the other day just preparing for this, and, man, that match still holds up. It was my favorite on the card. I was in high school at the time watching this, and it was my favorite on the card. I still watch it from time to time. It was a great match. I thought that bump was insane, by the way. But also, if you ever talk to Cash, I mean, we've been trying to get him on, and man, I'll do it. I'll be there next week, or just hit me up. And we haven't been able to get him on yet. So
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I just. Well,
I'll call you next week.
I get all these, these messages and stuff. Hey, come on, yeah, come on. And it's like, oh, fuck. Today, I had one like you guys, and then I had told another guy at the same time and going, I just do them both at once. Fuck it. It'd be like those, when those movie stars, when you hear them on the radio,
right?
Where it's like they pre-record the answers to the questions, and then the local radio DJ will read the question,
right,
and then just pipe in the canned response. Well, that's what I should do.
So, Mikey, I hear you're dating Jennifer Aniston. How's that going?
Sure, why not?
God.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Mikey, I hear there's big things in Hollywood for you. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. But I'm terrible at that too. It's just like I don't do it on purpose. I've had many concussions. So
yeah,
right.
You would be
today
surprised.
I'm having a good day. I'm having a very clear day mentally. A lot of times you talk to me, I'll be like, but today it's pretty good. So.
One of the craziest backstage stories I've ever heard, legit, was the one about James Mitchell almost blowing his fucking hand off. I mean, please let our listeners in, the ones that don't know, about this bizarre event.
Come with Papa Mikey and sit around the campfire, brother.
So, Mikey, I heard a guy blew his fucking hand off. Could you tell us about it?
So he had this little magician thing, right? Where it was little copper pipe with 2 AA batteries and a switch, a little button.
Right.
And what would happen is you'd hit the button, and it would light a filament inside the pipe, right? Which you would take flash paper. You're supposed to use an eighth of a sheet of flash paper.
Mm-hmm.
It would come in like, the regular like printer paper.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to use 1/8 of a sheet. You stick it in there. You hit the button. The little filament lights the flash paper, and it makes like a little fireball gun, right?
Right.
Which he used it a lot. It was very handy. Like we do the trio woe spot with Mama Luke, and Vandy would come in the ring and shoot a fireball at his balls. But this is what he used because it was easier than holding your hand and throwing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
All you do is point and push the button. So he goes, Mikey, I'm going to make a chic gimmick. And I go, okay. So he takes out this sheet of flash paper and doesn't rip it into an eighth. He takes the whole fucking thing and is trying to get in this little pipe, right? Well, it gets stuck and it won't go in. So he goes into his bag and he gets a toothbrush and he starts jamming the paper into the pipe. Well, I know. As he jams the toothbrush in there, his finger hit the button, so he lit the filament and set up the flash paper. But now because it was so tight and he had his toothbrush jammed in the other end, he made a mini pipe bomb. And this thing fucking exploded. You hear, bam, and all I hear is in my ear, right? I look down and his hand is just pouring blood. It looked like somebody just turned on a faucet. It was just fucking pouring. Like, holy shit. So he kind of clamps his wrist together and puts his hand up, try to stop the blood. We run into the bathroom, right? So he's putting his hand under the sink, and it's just there's blood everywhere. It's fucking nasty. We're looking into it. He stops and he goes, Mikey, and like very calm, right? You seem to have a bit of my finger hanging to the tip of your nose. I turn around, look in the mirror by the sink, and I am just covered in blood. You know the scene in Pulp Fiction,
right?
Where John Travolta shoots Marvin in the face, and the back windshield.
Oh no, I shot Marvin.
That's exactly what it looked like. Like my face was just covered in blood, and like bits of his finger and his hand. It was just like, oh. So yeah, he gets in. He sits down, and the devil Hack comes in. He's like, yo, that's a great gimmick. He thought we were just fucking around. As we always did. Dude, he thought we had some like prop hand and we're like pumping big blood out of it. It's like, it looks so real. Like, okay, Hack.
So when it went off and you heard your ears ringing, did you have a Sandman flashback and it was like, it ain't me, I ain't no
watch your damn well.
It's like, did he hit me with that cane in the back? Motherfucker.
I heard Clearwater Revival in the back of my head.
That is okay. So I'm assuming that's the worst injury you ever saw in wrestling.
Well, it's not the mass transit thing.
Oh yeah.
But I think that this was worse because it was just like it was up close and personal for me on this one, and it was just like nasty.
Right.
He's dead, but so they take him to the ambulance, and the best part about it, he tells me as I call him later after the pay-per-view, he goes, Mikey, what we were supposed to do was, I was going to hold it up between you and Tajiri's head and shoot the fireball between your heads and going, oh, that would have been fucking lovely.
Could you imagine if on the match he picks it up and his hand just blows off in the middle of you and Tajiri?
PC bump.
Yeah. And then Sandman comes out. That's fucking great.
That's fucking great, Red Man. Oh my God.
That's fucking awesome. Red guy, that's fucking tremendous.
We got to do it again next week.
Where's my stick?
Well, I mean,
I knew he was going to be fine because then when I talked to him, he goes, I go, how you feeling? He goes, I'm on med. Do me a favor. Bring me a beer in a Burger King cup.
Mikey, you've been around for a long time, man. What was one of the best ribs or the funniest road stories you saw, heard about, or witnessed while you were in the business?
I remember, here's a good one. So, Kurt Hennig had been on the road for like 4 weeks, and he's got a red eye back, and he's finally getting home. And he's sitting in first class, and he's ready to fall asleep for the flight, and he's in first class. Well, the guy next to him recognizes him. He's like, hey, you're here, Mr. Perfect. And Kurt's like, yeah. Mr. Perfect, yeah. He's like, yeah, hey, look, man, it's nice meeting you, but I've been on the road for weeks. I just want to get some sleep. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So Kurt tries to fall asleep. Hey, so when you wrestled Bret Hart at SummerSlam, he's like, oh, yeah. Right. Kurt tries to fall back asleep. So when you wrestled Hulk Hogan and you broke the belt up and smashed it with a hammer, he's like, yeah. So this guy is drinking wine and he just won't stop. And Kurt just wants to go to sleep. Right? So at some point, the guy gets up to go to the bathroom. Kurt looks, he knows. Kurt takes his finger, sticks his finger up his butt, and then takes his finger and wipes his finger around the guy's wine glass. The guy comes back. Kurt acts like he's sleeping. So, of course, the guy starts talking again. Hey, so when you're perfect and you do your perfect flex, it's like, yeah. And the guy goes like he's going to pick up his drink, but every time he goes like he's going to take a drink of his wine, he starts talking again. So it's like a big tease, right? So
right.
Finally he finally drinks the wine, tastes it, tastes the remnants of shit along the rim of the glass. And he's like, do this wine tastes like shit. Can I have another glass?
That's awesome. Have you ever heard the Phil Hickerson story?
I don't think so.
Josh does it better than me, but it all circles around Tojo Yamamoto, right? And Tojo was this was in a different time. So there was homophobia abound.
It was Tojo's homophobic beliefs or whatever. But
he was so homophobic he did a hot dog from the middle.
But pretty much what had happened, like Phil Hickerson, he was teaming with Dennis Condrey, and Dennis Condrey, he was trying to rib Tojo Yamamoto, and he said, Phil, Tojo, he's going to come back, to the locker room after he gets done with his match, and, kind of kneel down. He thinks we're kind of funny anyways because we got hearts and we got blonde hair. He had hearts on his tights and all that. That was kind of the gimmick. And he said, just kind of get down on your knees and just act like you're sucking my dick or whatever. And Tojo will bust through the door and he'll think, oh, God, what the hell, And he said, okay, let's do that. And he said, all right, they had somebody queuing them in whenever the match was over, and Tojo would probably be walking back up or whatever. And as soon as they got the queue, pretty much, Dennis looks at Phil. He was like, "Hey, open your mouth. Act like you're going, you're sucking it or whatever."
Like you're about to do it, yeah.
Okay. And he hangs his mouth open or whatever. As soon as Tojo walks through the door, boom, he opens the door. Phil's looking at Tojo kind of like, ha, ha, ha. He's got his mouth all open. Boom! Dennis shoves the bread right into the bread box. he said, Phil's tongue felt like a cat's tongue or some kind
like
of shit.
Sandpaper.
and Phil, he jumps up and he tries to run and attack Dennis or whatever. And they run around the Louisville Gardens. He's chasing him. And Phil didn't talk to Dennis for about 3 days.
3 days? He let him off light.
Let him off easy.
Yeah. I ain't talking to you to 3 days. Like it took, as long as it took for the Lord to come back to earth, I am not going to talk to you. We have a couple of listener-submitted questions that we put out to some of the people on our Twitter page and said that we're going to have you on. So we got a few questions here for you from the listeners. This question comes from a fan named Grayson Knowlton from Jackson, Tennessee. And he says, we've heard some stories of some of the other ECW wrestlers and how they wore other hats, like designing shirts, answering phones, booking towns, etc. When you were in ECW, did you wear any other hats while you were working there?
Oh, shit. I was working at the school. I would help with the merchandise a little bit.
Right.
Help Dad pick out designs, shit like that. I was head of the ring crew guys, so I'd make sure the guys, got their money, which was fun at times.
Right.
But make sure they get the money, make sure the truck was there, taken care of. Everything with the ring was taken care of. Canvases were washed, shit like that. Help set up the buildings for the pay-per-views, get pay-per-view banners, things like that. I would help with the music guys for the music cues. Almost like an agent type of guy, things like that.
Cool.
So yeah, I did a little bit of everything. Help mail out catalogs.
I got a few of those in my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin Keaton asks, what are your thoughts on the way that you were treated / booked in WCW?
Well, we kind of talked about that already.
Right.
But not good. They paid me well, so I really can't complain about that part. Like I said, it was kind of like a paid vacation.
That's a
I
good
got to
way
go to good old Louisville. It was just, it was creatively it sucked.
Right.
I debuted as a heel against Kidman. They want me as a babyface against Scotty Riggs, who's now a heel with like a new gimmick. We have no issue, no story, no program, nothing, but we'll put him on pay-per-view. So it was just kind of like a weird wackiness. Hey, we'll put Mikey in the Junkyard Invitational Battle Royal because he was an ECW guy, and that's what they did.
Wow.
Well, I mean, like when they had you, whenever you signed your contract, talked to them, whatever, did they promise you anything, or was it just like, okay, you'll get this much per year and we'll move along?
Yeah, I mean, they guaranteed, we talked about money, and then it was, they ran some ideas by me, where I'd be like I said I wanted to be a fat cruiserweight. Because you had Ray and Kidman, Hoovy, all those, the skinny with the abs and shit like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I said, that's not me. I don't really wrestle that style. I mean, I can do it a little bit, but I do more of like an ECW type of twist on things, like a hardcore, light type of style. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the matches that Raven was doing with all the gimmicks and everything else, but I had like a different. I would use my body and the ring as like a weapon, as opposed to the guys with high spots and flippy-dippy things.
Right.
So I just do it a little bit different. And they're like, oh, that'd be great, and then, we'll, something with Kidman, and then yada, yada, and then just never, the Kidman part came through, but it just never went anywhere from there.
we got this question in as well. Who was your favorite person to see in the locker room, and who was your favorite person to work in the ring if it wasn't the same person?
Favorite people to see. Jerry Lynn.
Right.
Lance Storm. We had like the fake clique. It was Jerry, Lance, myself, and PJ. We were like the fake clique, where we pride ourselves on looking good but being very fake. So anytime working with any of those guys it was really like a night off. Like Dudley was my big travel partner, so we traveled together all the time.
Right.
So, but yeah, pretty much them. To Jerry, after a while, he's like my buddy.
Yeah, funny thing is, you mentioned Jerry Lynn there. I was working for Derek King in a corporation here in Tennessee, and Derek King had brought Jerry Lynn in. And
right.
Jerry Lynn was one of the coolest guys. He dressed in the back. He didn't want his own locker room. He dressed in the back, talked to us like we were on a show with him for years, like we were complete equals. And at the end of the night, he goes, "Who's going back to Jackson or going that way?" And I go, "Well, I live in Jackson. You want to follow me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll follow you." So we're driving through the backwoods of Tennessee, like no street lights. We go through Nutbush, where Tina Turner's from. It's a miserable little city, man. If you've never been there, don't go. But we get to Jackson, and he tells me he's looking for a hotel. So I do this stupid thing where I'm like, this is a big star. He's going to want to stay in a Marriott or something. So I go, we leave the interstate, and we get on to the bypass there in Jackson, and I go, "Hey, man, there's this a great hotel right here." And he goes, "Man, I saw they had some rooms up there at that motel for $19. I think I'm going to turn around and go over there." And I felt so bad.
That's Jerry. Yeah, no, he's awesome. But when Jerry and I get together, it's funny because I just spent like 4 days with him down New Orleans at WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
And it was just like fucking old times. He said to me, he sent me a text afterwards. He goes, "Oh, it was great hanging out." He goes, "Just like old times." Like, well, Jerry, it's like you and me get together. It's like Beavis and Butthead. It's fucking ridiculous. We just laughed the whole time.
Man, like I said, he was an awesome guy. He was laughing at jokes. Usually when you're the young guy in a locker room, you're afraid to talk around the veterans and you don't want to make any mistakes. Right. You don't want to point out that Mr. Hughes has fell asleep. You don't want to do any of that. So, but man, he was one of those guys who was just like, "What are y'all talking about?" "Oh, I like that." And joking around with us, man. I couldn't say more about how nice he was. Love to have him here. I just don't have a contact, but man, he's awesome.
We had another listener submitted question.
Two more. Yeah.
How do you feel about Paul Heyman as, opposed to like when you worked for him, and are your feelings the same about him present day?
Because this is the way I look at it. A lot of guys who got the same opportunities because of Paul, who fucking shit all over him and everything else.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now, did the end of ECW go as well as it could have? No. Did everybody get their money? No. Was everybody kept in the loop? No. Will a lot of people be kept in the dark? Yes. But I look at it this way. Without Paul Heyman, I wouldn't be talking to you guys now.
Right.
Right? I wouldn't have had the life I've had. I wouldn't have, the nice things I have. I wouldn't have had, been to the places I've been. I wouldn't have, I would have nothing.
Right.
I'd be working at Kmart probably, or doing something else that would really be nowhere near as fun. Now, do I have a regular gig now? Yeah. I work in an IT department, computer guy, which is always entertaining because I take my pro wrestling attitude and I apply it towards IT work and people. So it's always a very interesting, non-politically correct, very expletive-laced workspace.
Yeah.
But without Paul, I would have nothing, and I would just, like I said, wouldn't be talking to you guys. So I hope everything as far as, things I have, the money I was able to keep, the experience I've had, thanks to Paul. So, I'll never say anything bad about the guy. Because really, we really think he wanted ECW to end the way it did? No.
Right.
Did he really want to go work for WWE? No. But, he had to do what he had to do, too.
Right.
Correct.
If anybody, if it came push come to shove, either you're going to be okay and taken care of, and the people who work for you aren't, or they're not going to be okay, and you're also going to be in the shit and destitute.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, you have to look out for yourself at some point. I mean, He kept that thing going as long as he could. It just it didn't work.
So, just for clarification, are you blaming Paul for having to talk to us right now?
Yes.
Oh, that Paul Heyman.
Well, I tell you what, man, this is our last question from a fan. It just said, how did you get along with Taz in the back? I heard sometimes he could be a little tough. Did you have any problems with Taz, or was he one of your favorites to hang out with?
I would see Taz 6, sometimes 7 days a week, because I worked at the school with him, and we do the school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we were on the road usually Friday, Saturday, travel day on Sunday, back to school on Monday. So I saw him every day. He was very easy to get along with. Working with him in the ring was very easy. The kid up on the head sucked, but it was very easy. Like he would get mad because he couldn't get mad and stay mad at me.
Right.
Because I was always just very respectful, just very nice, and I'm just me. You know what I mean? So it's one of those. I can't fucking stay mad at you. I go, okay, and then he would get pissed that he couldn't stay mad at me. And what was funny was my ex-girlfriend, my ex-wife now, she would be friendly with Taz's wife, right? So if I wanted to take a couple days off from the school to go somewhere, like, brother, we got to train classes, la, la, la. Well, my girlfriend would talk to Taz's wife. I really wanted to go, to Ocean City, Maryland. It would have been nice, but, he's got to work to school. Well, Taz's wife would say, hey, you should give Mikey off this week because, his girlfriend wants to go down to the beach. So we get to school and he goes, damn you. I go, what? He goes, you can leave. I'll see you on Friday. I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, your girlfriend talked to my wife, and that's it. So now you're not going to be here this week. But it was funny stuff.
That's awesome, man. Mikey, you got anything coming up, man? Any appearances or anything like that?
Fuck, I have a shit ton coming up, which is very rare for me because I don't like leaving my house. June 2nd, I'm up in Binghamton at some baseball stadium. I think Jack Swagger's going to be on that show, too. And then June 8th, I'm in New Jersey for Matt Tremont, his H2O company.
Yeah.
And then I think I took a week off. And I think that I'm down in Fort Myers, Florida, doing a seminar for my old students' site there down at the Crypt Wrestling or something.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Good
Fort
plug.
Myers,
Good
that's all
plug.
I know.
Well, man.
That's pretty much it, guys.
That's awesome, man. Well, like I said before, we appreciate you being on this long with us. You went way over an hour, and that is awesome, man. And that's not even counting the time that we cut for the 4 minutes that somebody had a temper tantrum at your house. So everything's cool, man. We appreciate you being on with us. And like I said,
yeah, we didn't have to talk about the temper tantrum. I think they actually went to bed. They're fucking rare things.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest. The temper tantrum was me that I had to do this interview. I was wondering, my wife was like, "Don't do it. You go back in there and you do it."
Right. You're just sitting there going, "Damn it, get Paulie on the phone. This is all his fault."
My wife had a temper tantrum that I had to do interviews.
Right.
I'm right there with you, Mikey.
Well, man.
I'm going to call Paul after I go, thanks to you, I was on the phone for an hour and 15 fucking minutes on a Wednesday night.
Hey, give him our number, man.
Yeah,
Maybe,
we'll talk to anybody, really. I mean, who was that Chatham guy you wrestled in WCW? We'll talk to him, too. Yeah.
I think he's dead.
Well, we'll talk to his wife or whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk to anybody, man. We don't care. But, man, Mikey, thank you so much for being a part of P3 Radio. Once again, go check him out at his appearances and follow him on Twitter. I followed you on Twitter a couple weeks back, and I was like, the next day I was like, holy shit, I got a follow from MikeyWhipwreck. And
yeah, man.
Like I said, Mikey's really cool. Follow him on Twitter. Go to his appearances. Triple Crown ECW winner Mikey Whipwreck. I can't say that. Mikey Whipwreck.
I've been stuck with that name for 25 years. Yeah.
Well, go and see him. He's an awesome dude. Thank you once again for being a part of P3 Radio.
Guys, my pleasure. Have yourself a lovely evening.
Florida Ticket Station. Florida. Your one-stop shop for discounted tickets on all of Orlando's best theme parks. Orlando. All of Orlando's local attractions. Orlando. All of Orlando's events. Fucking Orlando. All of Orlando's local attractions. Orlando. And so much more. Yeah. They offer affordable tickets to Disney World, Mickey Mouse, Universal Studios, Back to the Future, SeaWorld, Legoland, everything is awesome, Busch Gardens, I don't know what that is, and so much more.
But seriously, Josh, they are licensed and insured with the state of Florida. So you can rest assured that your reservations are valid. Summer's coming and vacation time's right around the corner. So go to tinyurl.com/P3Florida and book your Orlando vacation today. tinyurl.com/P3Florida. P3 Florida. Well, the sound of that music means we've reached the end of part 2 with Mikey Whipwreck and the end of today's episode. Mikey was awesome. Josh, what did you think about today's episode?
Man, actually, I'm kind of sad. That means, we've come to an end with Mikey, but I'm sure we'll be communicating on Twitter and whatnot. He was extraordinarily, superly cool, and I'm so thankful for him being, going so long with us in the interview, because, we had only planned just to do maybe, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we've got big things coming up on the horizon. In the next couple weeks, you're probably going to hear an interview we're going to do with Kid Cash. We're going to try to interview him tomorrow and try to get him on the show. Unless something happens, you're going to hear that interview within the next 2 weeks. And Josh, anything else you want to add?
No, man, I think we're about out of time anyways. But, dude, once again, we had a super cool guest, and I can't wait. We're going to have a whole lot more.
Well, if they want to follow us on Twitter, where do they go?
P3 Radio 1.
If they want to follow us on Facebook,
search Pop Poncho in your search bar and you're bound to see our picture.
And if they want to give us a call or send us a text, where do they send that to?
731-300-6675.
And of course, you can send us an email at p3radio1@gmail.com. That's going to about do it for us. For Josh Brawley, this is Richard Mulligan saying thank you so much for listening, and good night.